Hi, my name is Niall Boylan. Of course, you know me from the radio station. I'm talking to people every single day, and you know what? They're sick of the government. I love this city. I love Ireland. I love the crack. I love the cave meal of fáilte that it's offered us for thousands of years. But we need change. And over the last 4 years in particular, I've noticed those callers are getting angrier and very frustrated because they feel voiceless. They're listening to a government who are not listening to them. An opposition party who don't seem to oppose. They've ignored us on so many things, so many important issues. They've ignored us on mass immigration with a reckless immigration policy. They've ignored us on healthcare with waiting lists getting longer. There's 4,000 children in temporary accommodation as the homeless numbers rise and rise in this country. But what have they done about it? What have they actually done? They've made promises but done nothing. Our business communities are suffering with closures every single day caused by skyrocketing energy costs and a government that refuses to reduce the VAT rate back to 9% to help those businesses stay open. And many people say they don't feel safe in our city, with crime figures that seem to be getting worse every single day. And that's why I'm here. You can see the doll in the background. And remember, in that building in the doll in the background, very few of those people are actually listening to you. But some people are listening. Michael Collins, Michael Fitzmaurice, and Richard O'Donoghue, Independent Ireland. And that's why I've decided to run as a European MEP and be the real voice of Dublin for Independent Ireland, for honesty, integrity and real common sense. I'm not a politician. In fact, I'm not even part of the establishment. But I think that's what we really need. We need real change. And we need people to stand up and be counted and represent the people of Dublin. I'm a proud Dubliner. I'm a proud Irishman. I'm a good listener, and I'll speak honestly and openly for you, the people of Dublin and the people of Ireland. So please vote for me, Niall Boylan, on the 7th of June, and I'll be the real voice of Dublin and the real voice of Ireland in Europe.
It is a very good afternoon. It's a very good afternoon. It's Niall Boylan with you for the next hour or so. Now, so many people, by the way, have been on to us, of course, about what's happening at the canal in Dublin. We could talk for hours about it, and we have talked for hours about it. It is a ridiculous situation. It is time that we got serious and we got tough. The government are not going to do that. They'll tell you they're going to do that because they want you to re-elect them, of course, in the local and the European elections and also the general election at the end of the year. But that's not going to happen because the people of Ireland are saying no. We're sick of it now at this stage. I mean, it's a simple answer, simple solution. You ignore the NGOs, you build reception centres very quickly, within days, in warehouses at Dublin Airport, because that's the closest place to get people out of the country. And those who don't qualify for asylum, which is probably most of them, should be removed from the country with force immediately. Not voluntary deportation orders. They need to be removed with force. We have plenty of accommodation then to provide for the 14,000 people that we already had homeless in this country if we achieve that. We need to take steps to enforce our immigration laws. It has now become a lawless society when we deal with immigration in this country. So it needs to stop. So you heard my little advertisement at the start there. I want to listen to you. I have been listening to you for 30 years on radio. The government are not listening to you. And I want to be your real voice in Europe. And I promise, by the way, unlike some of the representatives that are putting out videos, they're getting to know you videos today. I've seen one or two of them going out there. Getting to know you. You've been in power for 5 years in Europe, and seemingly we don't know who you are. What does that actually mean? It means that they're the best hide-and-seek champions in the world. Please don't re-elect them. They will do nothing apart from sell our sovereignty and sell our laws to Europe. We need to keep some control. I'm not suggesting Europe is always a bad thing, by the way, because Europe was originally designed for countries to come together and work together. But we've got to make Europe work for us. It shouldn't be the other way around. We're not working for Europe. They should be working for us. And they should be helping us. It's meant to be countries coming together to help each other, not a dictatorship. Anyway, don't send the woke ones back and send the good ones back. The good ones who represent you, the people of Ireland. Anyway, we'll get more about that a little bit later on. But the first thing I wanted to get to was tips. Because there is this kind of move now, particularly in the United Kingdom, I read about it this morning, where hotels, restaurants, bars, particularly the hospitality industry, obviously, are basically incorporating a service charge everywhere now. In other words, incorporating the tip into the charge for your drink, for your meal, for whatever it happens to be, because people generally don't give tips. It's not a cultural thing in this part of the world. Of course, if you've been to the United States, you will know that you can't go into a restaurant without leaving 10 or 15% tip. And if you don't, they'll probably follow you outside the restaurant and wonder why. So are we the same here in Ireland? Should we be moving in that direction? Do you leave a tip when you go to a restaurant? There are people who argue and say, well, why should I leave a tip? Sure, isn't the person, the waiter or waitress, aren't they? That's their job, I mean, surely they're getting at least the minimum wage. So why are we paying them to do what their job is what they're meant to do, which is deliver the food to your table in a nice, orderly fashion, in time, and be pleasant? That's their job. Why would you want to give them a tip? You don't give the bus driver a tip when he gets you to the bus stop. That's his job. No more than you give me a tip when I present a radio show. I'd like to give me a tip, by the way, when we're doing the podcast, because we don't get paid for that. That's different. But if I'm doing a radio show, I don't expect the listeners to text in at the end of the show, no, there's a fiver, that was a great show. Why? Because I get a salary, I get paid for doing it. So should we be giving tips? The other part of the argument is that waitresses, or generally those waiters, those who work in the hospitality industry, are on reasonably low wages, and they rely on your tips because it's kind of included in it in some sense, when you get a job as a waiter or waitress or get a job in hospitality, that you take into consideration you're on a low wage, but you get a good opportunity to make a few quid every week on tips. So it's taken into consideration. For that reason, you should tip if you get a good service. So should you tip? Do you tip? Is it the right thing to do? Should we get into that kind of culture here in Ireland? Let me know what you think. The number, as usual, 085 122 55. That's 085 122 55. Now, to give us some indication of what's going on in Ireland when it comes to tip, my good friend Paul Trevoux from Trevoux Restaurant in Killarney joins me. Paul, good afternoon to you.
How are you, Niall? How's things?
Now, Paul, it is fair to say the hospitality industry, particularly the restaurants, have been hit particularly bad. Of course, they're suffering, they're hemorrhaging at the moment, money because of energy costs and because of everything else. And I certainly don't want to be the one to have a go with them. If anything at all, I would like to assist them in some way to make things better. But, on a lower level, when it comes to tips for the staff, are we good tippers here in Ireland?
Well, I am now in hospitality about 36 years of my life, and my father always had this great saying, and he's still alive when I say he had this great saying, he still does. He said, if you enjoyed it, it's 10%. That's the way he always looked at it. So whether the bill was €50, €100, €200, whatever, Dad would always leave 10% for the waiting staff. And when I was in hotels, you'd always see it was pretty much a standard. The Americans are, as you were saying earlier in your intro, I mean, they would leave, you'd see on a bill in America, if you've ever been there, suggested tip. I love it. Suggested tip. Yeah. 10%, 15%,
20%, yeah, whatever you want.
20%, 25%. And they have it all nicely worked out for you on the bill, and you can see exactly, and it depends how many glasses of wine you have. You might just tick the box, and all of a sudden you have an extra $100 put onto your bill. But I mean, by and large, in my experience over all the years I've been in hospitality, Irish people do tend to leave a tip if they're happy with it. And I've always done the same with a taxi driver. Not that I go now to get my hair cut, but my mother would always leave a 10% tip in the hairdressers. It was just kind of like, thanks a million, because as you said, a lot of the people would be on a kind of a lower wage. So it was just a kind of acknowledgement for doing a great job. And just a little thanks very much. So I always have the philosophy as well that, a simple thing, when I get the lawnmower sharpened down here, I mean, I always turn around and say, listen, always buy a man a pint. So I'd always leave him a tenner for a pint, or well, thankfully down in Kerry you get 2 for a tenner. So you'd always get, just a nice little kind of tip. I just think it's a nice way.
Yeah, but I don't want us to get into a culture of having a kind of where it's a thing to leave a tip. Because as you know, in America, whether the service is good, bad, or indifferent, you're still obliged to leave a tip, or they'll come out after you. So it doesn't really matter what the service is like anymore. I mean, in Ireland, look, if the service is really great, give a tip, particularly if you're with a large group, for example, and they're looking after you all night or whatever it happens to be. But what about the argument from some people, Paul, say, well, hold on for a second. You're being paid to do the job. And they go, oh, well, the service was great, wasn't it? It's meant to be great. Oh, the food was lovely, because we're in Trevoux, of course, and that steak was gorgeous. But it's meant to be lovely. It's not meant to be anything other than lovely and good. So, why leave a tip?
Yeah, and look, fair argument, and don't leave the tip. We certainly won't call you any name under our breath when you walk out.
You will, won't you?
See, the difference in America is I've been lucky enough to be over there 5 or 6 times, and I talk to a lot of the guys who are working in the restaurants, and the tip is actually their wage. In some restaurants, you actually have to pay the head guy to get a job in there because the tips are so good. The guys are making anywhere from 400, 500, 600 up to $1,000 a week, and that's their salary. So that's why it's really kind of enforced in America, because, hey, I'm actually not being paid to do this job. It's up to the customer to give me my tip. And over all the years I've been in restaurants, hotels and all that, you'd always see when the American customer comes in, if there was a 10%, most restaurants would charge 10% service to, parties over 8. And Americans would turn around and go, no, make that 20%, because that's just their culture.
And why do they charge the tip of parties, say over 8 or over 10 or whatever it is, when realistically you're kind of making more money out of those people anyway, aren't you? Because there's more of them.
You know what? Not really. Well, what I've seen for years, and it's funny, is that you'd have everybody would say, okay, if you're with a good bunch of mates, they say, look, it's 50 quid a head. Everyone throw in 50 quid a head, and 9 fellas would throw in the 50 quid a head, and the one guy who goes, I'll actually pay this on the old credit card. Now, everybody would have probably made 60 quid, but your man will go up and say, here, charge my card 500 quid, and that's his beer paid for the rest of the night. So everybody would it's just a kind of a standard thing to say, listen, at least that way we know there's a standard tip put on the kind of groups of 8 people. But when you look at the French, the Italians, the Spanish, their culture, again, it's not really to tip, but they will always leave 50 cents, €1, €2. They're just not big tippers. But predominantly what I've seen, over all the years is the Irish, if they enjoy themselves, if they've had a good time, they will leave in and around. It'll be at least a 10 or so.
It is unfortunate that, your Chinese takeaway delivery guy, for example, that he doesn't get paid a huge amount of money. Although I know somebody who delivers Chinese, he makes a fortune, right? Anyway, but he doesn't get paid a huge amount of money. What, it's like a $2.50 delivery charge or something like that, right? So for him to go from the Chinese to your house. And then, he's standing at the door with his hand out, looking for the change, right? And there's always this, this old trick of them rummaging, pretending let's see if I got the change.
Our coins.
Yeah, they're coins. And you end up just going, keep it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I mean, but this idea that you have to pay a bit extra for a service you've already just paid for, that's people's objections to it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a hypocrite because I'm the best tipper ever. I actually do tip all the time, and I'll always give the Chinese takeaway guy the change. If it's 13 quid, I'll give him 50 and say, keep the change, whatever, right? Same with a taxi driver, I'll do the same thing. And in a restaurant, I'm normally 10 to 15%, normally. Unless there has been once or twice, Paul, I've walked out with no tip and I've left no tip because the service is just shite.
Same as.
You know what I mean?
No, same as. And that's why I've always said, the way I personally do it here in Ireland, it's always voluntary. It's always, did I enjoy that? Well, was it? I know. I suppose when you're in hospitality, you can go anywhere and have food handed to you. But did the waiter or waitress do it with a smile? Did they go out of their way? Did they sell you a lovely dish that you never would have thought you would have had before? To turn around and go, that was really, really good.
Yeah, did they recommend something to you? Yeah, did they come back over halfway through and say, is everything all right? Can I get you anything? That's what you kind of expect.
Absolutely. Yeah. Simple little things, all of a sudden you accidentally knock a knife or fork off a table. They're there before you've even got to pick it up with a new one. And these are the ones that, they're really on their job because they're watching everything that goes on the floor. So it's more of a, listen, I could have gone anywhere tonight. I could have taken a risk with my €100 for dinner, and I could have got it horribly wrong. Thankfully, I came here. God, that was fantastic. So listen, thanks a million. It's just a kind of little, it's a token of appreciation more so than anything. That's the way I personally look at it when I'm paying the bill. And as you said, there's been times I've been out and I went, mother of God, that was absolutely, that was pretty crap. Yeah. And I just turn around and I say, I'd probably only leave 2 or 3 quid. I'd always leave something. But I certainly wouldn't leave the 10% or leave a €20 tip, if it was a bang average experience. And that would be hospitality or any kind of service. Many times I got a taxi home and I turn around, I just, 20 quid, there's 20. Cheers, thanks a million, because, they just, no chat, no banter.
You don't want to see this culture coming in because it is creeping in the UK now where, a single drink in a bar and there's a service charge on it.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
Because there is an argument we're paying through the nose. Like, for example, in Dublin it's like in Killarney, but a pint of beer like 9 quid in some places. So there is an argument we're being robbed anyway. You know what I mean?
I tell you, if we charged you 9 quid for a pint in Killarney, you'd get a cuddle, a hug, and you'd certainly get directions home. I don't know if I'd bring you home, but I'd definitely certainly give you directions back to the hotel. So you get more than just a pint. And listen, Killarney, I always say, au contraire to my wonderful trolls on Twitter. I mean, Killarney is quite possibly one of the most wonderful places on earth, no matter what they try to do it. And it's thankfully it's picking up now for the season. But I mean, I can't stress it enough. It's that, listen, you people know themselves. If you enjoyed yourself and you feel you should leave something extra, by all means do. It's really appreciated. And if you don't, well, then that's fine too. I mean, like it's not. I don't think, like years ago we used to have service charge added here as well. I remember when I first came down to Kerry, there was places charging service charge for everybody, for 2s and 4s and all kinds of stuff. And what places were doing was they were paying their staff out of that, which is completely illegal, first of all, but immoral anyway. Micheál Martin will love that. It's highly immoral. But and so that's.
And by the way, do staff get to? A lot of places, staffs don't get to keep the tips. The tip is put into a tip jar and it's dished out between everybody, including the people in the back room. So
yeah, a lot of places will have their own, but I mean, it's illegal for the staff not to get the tips. It should be on all.
Yeah, they brought that in a few years ago, didn't they? Yeah, they brought that in.
Yeah. Last year they brought it in there. Yeah. So, but I'm always saying, and if there's people listening that work in restaurants and work in bars, there's always saying, like, I don't get it. Just leave. I mean, like if somebody is abusing your salary or anything at all like that, just don't work there. That's what, don't be hanging around with somebody who's treating you like muck. So, and thankfully people are a lot smarter now, and thankfully bars and restaurants, look, it's the same in every game. It's like banks, they love to screw you too, but some banks don't. Yeah. But most banks love to screw you too. So, I mean, like, just, vote with your feet, obviously. But now we're...
Speaking of voting, Paul, of course, we're coming up to the European and the local elections. The government are probably ready for a good trashing on the 7th of June.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Of course, for small businesses across Ireland like your own, are things improving a little bit? Are they getting any better? Can you see a light at the end of the tunnel with maybe a suggestion of caps on energy bills or reduction in VAT rate back to 9%? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel at all?
Well, it's funny because what the government are currently coming out with now, it's a bit like their immigration policy. They're coming out with what we said 2 years ago with immigration, or 4 years ago when everything started going pear-shaped for small businesses. They're now saying, we're looking in how to help you, and we're kind of going, no, we're telling you how to help us. You're just not doing it. Now, so I'm going absolutely mad with the ICOB grant, which is the increased cost of business grant that's supposed to be paid to all small businesses throughout the country. And this, when they initially announced it, before it came to budget, they said, we're going to do this. It was going to be paid in mid-January of 2024. Then when they did the budget, they said it would be paid in the first quarter of this year. Then they said you'd have to fill out an application, and then they said, which is fair enough, this part, you have to be tax compliant in order to get the grant. That was all fine, but it'll be paid by the end of the first quarter of 2024, which is the end of March. Still not a single cent from it. We are now halfway through.
When you say they said that you have to be, sorry, Richard, when they said you have to be tax compliant, what about those who had warehoused a lot of their VAT during COVID, and obviously that's due all to be paid now this month? But so are they considered to be tax compliant once they've made an arrangement to pay it back, or are they not tax compliant?
No, that's the important part. Once they made the arrangement with revenue, then they are tax compliant because they've engaged and they've set up whatever payment scheme that was suitable for both them and revenue at the time. So once they've done that, they're tax compliant. A lot of businesses wouldn't have done that because they're kind of going, look, I owe 60, 70 grand here in warehouse tax. I owe 100,000 euro in warehouse tax. The ICOB grant is going to be worth 5 to me. So in order to become tax compliant,
I'm going to have to ring them.
Yeah. I'm going to have to ring and talk and engage with them, and possibly come up with a way of paying back 100,000 euro in order to get 4.
That's the end of me. That's the end of me 5 grand. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you'll have some people who are turning around going, oh well, small businesses can't be that bad off if they're because there's a very small take up on it. There's only about a 40% uptake, and it's about 260 million worth from revenue into small businesses, and there's only a 40% take up. The reason why the other 60% haven't done it is because for that very reason, they're not tax compliant. But now they're it's supposed to be coming out today as well that they're going to double it. And the problem with most small business, especially the people I'm talking to, whether it be Killarney, Kenmare or other places around here in Kerry, is they're just stuck in their overdraft. They can't get out of where they are in their overdraft. You know, all of a sudden they might have a good weekend and lodge in 4,000 or 5,000 euro worth of credit card receipts over the weekend, and then all of a sudden they get hit with their bill of 4,000 or 5,000 euro that comes out, whether it be energy, whether it be rates, whether it be, you know, a big bill that they owe to one of the producers. So people just can't.
And those energy bills are probably going to go back up again because we've seen now more taxes put onto fossil fuels. So most likely those energy bills are going to be hit even harder again. But Paul, it is tough, and you know, I know you guys are hoping for the best when it comes to the elections and the general elections as well, and there'll be people on your side, but you can be sure I'll be on your side, Paul, and I'm certainly on the side of small businesses because I've been in small business.
You know what I love about you, Niall? Do you know what I love about you? And I don't blow smoke up anyone's ass, but you see, this is the beauty of what they called us far-right, crazy, lunatic, tinfoil hat nut jobs for the last 4 or 5 years. You've always, like me, you have always said the same thing for the last 4 or 5 years that I'm listening to you talking about politics and everything. Whereas now we have a government that, don't forget, 2 years ago, we were all haters, we were all fascists, Nazis, racists, when we said, whatever you do, stop giving all these Ukrainian refugees coming in here 220 euro a week, because that's 1,000 euro a month, and their average salary back home is 600 euro a month. You're giving them everything else for free, so therefore you are basically enticing the wrong type of person, like a social or a migrant are coming in, or an economic migrant.
Oh yeah, sure. Ireland was the land of milk and honey, wasn't
Absolutely.
it? Really.
So when we said that 2 years ago, we were labelled everything. Now the government have done a full U-turn, and Simon Harris, it's no longer far right. What's the buzzwords? It's common sense approach is what they're saying now.
Yeah, well, when we said it wasn't common sense. Now, we were a bunch of racists and loopers. But mind you, we stuck to our word, and I did, and I know you did too, Paul. We stuck to it. We didn't care what people said because that was the reality of the situation. But, Paul, I hope things get better.
I hope. And fingers crossed, but that's why I hope, Niall, that everyone remembers that and they go out and that they can and do vote for you, because you've been honest, true, and you've said the same story all the way along, and we have been proven to be right. So people got to remember that in the ballot box. They say, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? It's not who we're voting in, even though it's very important that they vote you in. It's who they vote out. They vote out the people that have lied to us and treated the people of Ireland with utter contempt in the last 4 years. So I'm putting my €5. You're crap odds, by the way. If you got into evens or odds on now, but at least I might get a free pint out of it when I see Niall Boland elected.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul Trevaux, and I appreciate you coming on the air. Thanks a lot. There you go, Paul Trevaux from Trevaux's Restaurant in Killarney. Let me go to Louise. Louise, hi. Are you a tipper, Louise?
I am, but I just want to say one thing. I had a store myself, and I totally agree with that guy. You give employment, you do what you can for the public, for your staff, and then the government are in there to put the boot right under you. So I have to say, another thing I want to say, I'd agree with him as well. For the last few years, you stuck to the same topic. You haven't veered, and you're not changing like the wind. So anybody that wants to something that's stable and that's something that's going to work for us, and you've heard over and over again, you're definitely the person to vote for.
Oh, thank you, Louise.
Anyway.
Thank you, Louise. I'll record that bit and put it in my next promo. Thank you very much indeed. So, Louise, do you tip when you go into a restaurant, or do you only tip when you get a good service, or do you not tip at all?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you now. I don't know how many people are going to agree with me. I just find over the last few years, the customer service in general, I don't expect everybody to be jumping for joy or big smiles. And I know it's very stressful in a situation where you're coming from a big kitchen, or you've got a lot of stress from the chefs and blah, 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 and you're reaching targets and this, that and the other. But I find over the last few years, the actual the language barrier has been huge. Mm-hmm. And it's been a huge factor on myself and probably other people that are anaphylactic. Like I am allergic to peanuts or anything with nut sauce or fish, and I ended up. And do you get a bad reaction, Louise? Bad reaction? Yeah, well, I ended up in life support there 2 years ago.
Gosh, that always reminds me of that young girl that died there on O'Connell Street that time. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I was. Jesus, what happened to me was I'm not going into the big deal, but I had a bar of chocolate, and I was never allergic to nuts. But they said your system can change.
That's right.
I was going through menopause as well, blah, blah, blah. But I was in bed. I took a Piriton because I wasn't feeling good. I thought it was just an allergy. And at 2 o'clock that morning, I was put under, what's it called, an induced coma, because my organs started to fail.
Oh, my God.
So that was me. But I find when I go to a restaurant...
are you carrying an EpiPen all the time now?
Yeah, I have an EpiPen with me all the time. And I'm not sure whether there's many people out there like me that feel the same way as I do, but I feel that the barrier of language, the understanding is not very good. I understand, again, the stress with people, but I would rather order something simple on the menu that we both understand rather than going in to ask what's in the sauce, what's in this, what's in that.
Yeah, because that was probably part of the problem with Emma, the young girl that died in O'Connell Street, was she went in and I think there was a confusion over, what sauce she was picking or something in a particular Chinese restaurant at the time. And I think that was the issue, was the confusion. Maybe there could have been a confusion over language, I'm not too sure. But unfortunately, she picked the wrong food and it contained nuts. Yeah. And I think her mother went to a local chemist in O'Connell Street. And,
I heard, and
they refused to give her the EpiPen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there was a whole investigation.
Oh, it's very, very sad. But I find that now, and I find, I don't care what the smile on the face, people are stressed. I get that. Not everyone's going to come out smiling and dancing, and I do get that. But I think getting the order right is really important. And, it's important, again, if you're getting a steak, it's not coming out with blood running out if you ask for well done.
Yeah.
That's the main thing with me, that you're sitting at a table, everyone's comfortable ordering, and everybody is getting what
We're
they
not
want,
good at complaining,
no
Louise. Sure, us Irish, we sit there. So you get a bad steak, you get a bad dinner, right? And then the waiter comes over and says, everything okay? And we go, yeah, lovely, thank you. We don't complain.
We used to be, we got the best of service years ago. I don't think I was in business myself, I don't think people realised how the service we got years ago was absolutely brilliant. But I do think that we expected more. The customer is always right. I think we did expect a lot more. But I do think that nowadays the language barrier allows for some service not to be the best service, because the language barrier is for me and for other people, obviously other people I know, friends and family, you'd rather order, and you're looking at each other going, God, and if I was in that situation, I worked in a restaurant in America, right? And some of the stuff on the menu, like a surf and turf, I didn't even know what that was. But what I would do
beef
is,
and birds.
So what I do is I'd say to the customer, sorry, and they always used to say, Jesus, the Irish have great, they're great patience, and they're great with customers, and that's why they always say, they're good workers, because you can tell an Irish person you're doing that wrong. And what I'd say is, teach me the right way. I'd never be going, oh, what do you mean, But
back to the tip, because I've a heap of people here waiting. So back to the tip, Louise. Do you generally leave a tip?
It just depends. Yeah, it just depends.
How much would you leave? 10%, or would you? Do you?
I'd leave more. No, I'd leave more.
Okay.
I'd leave more. But it depends again on what you order. And again, for me, it'd be a big thing of sauces, and I'd rather order spaghetti bolognese, because the language barrier in the beginning started off bad. Yeah.
And let's stay there for a second. I want to go to Norman as well. Norman, hi. How are you?
Hello, Niall.
Hey, Norman, tips weren't really ever, even though we're a generous nation, tips were never really an Irish cultural thing, you know what I mean? But they are becoming that. Do you leave a tip?
I used to the past leave tips.
Sorry, Norman, can you pick up your phone, because you're on a speaker and we can't hear you?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It'd be great. Yeah, that's super, Norman. Thanks very much. You there, Norman? Norman? Oh, he's gone. Hello. All right.
Hi.
Norman seems to have abandoned us. Let me just go to John. Hi, how are you?
Afternoon, how are you?
I'm good, John. John, would you leave a tip?
Yes, I do always. I tip the taxi driver always, because I think it's an intimate service. It's just you and the taxi driver, especially a chatty taxi driver. I hate these people who get into a cab and you know that you're in trouble almost before the taxi pulls out. They're just stuck with a dumbass, and he's not going to open his mouth. He wants a conversation about sport, politics, anything,
Yeah, well, some people don't want to talk, and that's fine too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
there's nothing worse when you want a bit of peace and quiet. The taxi driver keeps talking to you all the time.
Well, the other way around. I like to talk, as you know.
Yeah, so do I.
But look, I would always give it, and even in a restaurant, I would do the same, or a bar that sells food now, right? Even the guy that cuts my grass outside now, and there's a large screen outside my area, and semi-detached, there's 2 bungalows. And when the guy is there, I don't give him money because he's council worker, right? But I give him a packet of biscuits, and he appreciates it.
A packet of biscuits?
With his cup of tea. Yeah, chocolate biscuits, whatever.
Chocolate biscuits. Right, okay.
Yeah, he appreciates that. I appreciate him, and I appreciate the job he's doing because he gets a delight out of that, and that to be recognised as a worker doing a good job. It also adds to the value of my house when it's maintained meticulously, right? So in the roundabout way, everybody wins.
But Louise is saying, Louise makes a good point. That's, a lot of the service industry is not great. Firstly, there's a bit of a language barrier sometimes, particularly, if you have an allergy to something or whatever it is, or you have particular desires when it comes to food, they don't tend to listen. And that, John, that goes with just the takeaways as well. I mean, I can't count on one hand in the last, month or two how many times I've been to McDonald's and they get it wrong. And it's just a case of not listening. And when I say, can I have a burger, please, with onions only? Because I don't like sauce or any of that kind of crap, right? Or cheese or any of that. And every time you have to check it because 5 times out of 10, there'll be sauce on it. They're not listening. The same in a restaurant. You send them off and you say, yeah, could you bring out the steak? Could you just make sure there's no sauce on it and it's well done? And you say it as many times as you like, but they still bring it out with sauce on it and it's still not done enough.
Well, you see, the trouble is with us Irish people, and I think, I don't know what it is, it's some kind of inferiority complex, but when you're out in a restaurant and if the food, like, they come along and they say, everything all right? And you say, oh, things are grand. And just before that, you were bitching and moaning.
I know, that's what I said to Louise.
And you end up paying for it. You actually pay for it and you end up thanking them as well.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry, but look,
I haven't complained in a restaurant in many, many years, but I did recently. It was a nice restaurant, but they brought me out a steak, and it was just fat. Half of it was actually fat. So when the waiter did come over, and I very rarely would ever complain, he said, "Everything okay?" And I went, "Actually, no." And I showed him the plate, and I said, "Half the steak was actually fat." And he went, "Oh, that's awful, isn't it? I'm really sorry about that." And he went off, and in fairness, came back with the bill, and he said, "I didn't charge you for that meal." So it paid. So I gave him a tip.
Well, there was an English girl suddenly there a couple of weeks back there in the restaurant there, and again the meat was brought out, and I couldn't cut it right. I mean, if I was there yet, I couldn't cut it right. I'd be exhausted. I nearly want to go to the gym to cut the bloody meat. And the thing is, she comes over anyway, and I says, "I'm sorry, look, you couldn't eat that." You know what I mean? So she went away, came back, and she said, "Oh, I tell you, it's your knife and your fork. They're not sharp enough, the knife." So she brought me out another knife. I still couldn't. I said, "Could you ever bring out some
steak
form
knife
of a pneumatic drill?" And I might actually get through this.
John, do you generally, if you're in a restaurant, would you leave a tip?
Always, yeah.
Yeah,
always.
What, 5%?
At least. And I always thank the bus driver when I'm getting off as well, like everybody else.
Okay, well, hang on for a second because I want to go to Norman as well. Norman, hi, how are you?
Hello, Niall. How are things?
I don't know what was wrong with your phone there, Norman. We couldn't hear you. But anyway, Norman, you heard Louise there and John. They both leave a tip when they can, but not all the time. I mean, are we just expected to leave a tip now? Is that the way it's got?
It seems to be, yeah. Unfortunately, it's expected to give a tip no matter what the service or how bad the service is. And like you said, generally, like I used to live in Holland and Belgium and Denmark, and you leave a tip if it's deserved. If it's not deserved, you don't leave a tip. Simple as. But like you said, we don't complain. We have 120,000, 140,000 Ukrainians here. They were on, 230, 460 a week. The children going to university. And people are saying, we should be doing that. But the ordinary Irish citizens or worse still those in direct provision didn't get that treatment. But we say nothing. We just take it on the chin,
Yeah, but I'm unsure what that's got to do with tipping, but I get the point you're making because I agree with you.
It's a mentality.
Oh, we're too generous. We're too generous. Is that what you're saying?
No, we're too afraid to speak up. Same with remember the.
But we weren't afraid to speak up. I spoke up. Loads of people spoke up. The government just didn't listen to people. We were called a bunch of right-wing racists.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know you're not right-wing, and I don't. I'm not. I'm left-wing. But this is ridiculous calling somebody right-wing or extreme right just because they're standing up for themselves or for their fellow citizens.
Yeah, well, look, we will come back to that again and we will be talking about that probably tomorrow. Okay. But because they're going to be doing it in the next 12 weeks, according to the government. I don't believe them, but they will do it before the election because they want to get your votes. But in saying that, going back to Louise said, Louise thinks that, there is a problem in the service industry that people sometimes are just not listening, or there's a bit of a language barrier maybe sometimes too. Because, of course, the majority of people that work in hospitality in this country are probably non-Irish because, it's difficult to get workers. And that's fine.
And it's not their fault. It's not their fault.
No.
But I mean, if you go
Well,
into
no,
some,
well, when you say it's not, well, now hang on. When you say it's not their fault,
Yeah.
when you walk
Yeah.
into a shop or a restaurant or a bar in Ireland, you expect the person behind the counter to speak English.
yeah, exactly. But if they don't get it, but that's the fault of the employer. They don't employ the right people, or they think they can pay lower to somebody who doesn't speak English. You know, it's the same with call centres. I used to work also with call centres, and they'd employ people who didn't know how to do the job properly.
Well, I know I had the same issue with a major company there recently, where obviously all their calls go to India, and the girl that was on the other end of the phone, really pleasant, nice girl, but she was clearly reading off a script and couldn't speak English outside of that script, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
And that's
exactly.
and that's a huge problem when it comes to the service industry. You need there's nothing racist in suggesting that if you're working in a country where the first language is English, and that is the first language of Ireland, that people should have a working knowledge of the language. Otherwise, how can you work in a service industry? You just can't. It's stupid.
Communicate.
Yeah, if you can't communicate,
Yeah,
and particularly in Louise's situation, or a situation where you might have an allergy or whatever it is, it's imperative that they understand what you're saying. Otherwise, Louise could be on life support again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. With the peanuts and things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay, but Norman,
Yeah,
do you leave a tip, Norman? Generally, yes.
I always used to, but nowadays you have minimum wage and things like that, and people are more paid. But if the service is good, I'll do it. If it isn't, I'll say no. I lived in Holland for a long time, and the Dutch are very straightforward. They don't leave a penny unless you have to. You know what I mean? They're not mean, but they tell it how it is. They don't wrap it up like the Irish do and say, "Oh, that was great service and it was not lovely." You know, I work in the customer service industry, and there's 4 types of customer. And the worst one is the one that says, that was great service, and then walks off and never comes back.
Well, they always say a bad customer will tell more people than a good customer. That was always a rule of thumb we had in the nightclub industry, that if you treat a person badly or they don't have a good night, they'll go off and tell 10 people they had a shite night in your nightclub. But if you treat a person well, unfortunately, they don't tell as many people. It's always and the same when you look online on Amazon and everything else, the comments, you never take them too seriously, because it's only really the customers that didn't like the product are going to leave a comment. Stay there for a second. Let me just go to Jason as well. Jason, hi, how are you?
Good afternoon, Niall. How are you?
Jessica, I'll be with you in a second. Jason, do you leave a tip?
If I go to our local for some dinner, I've been horning the kids out, we'd only probably go once a month to a carvery. I mean, it's too bloody expensive now to go out and eat. No, even too expensive.
Where'd you go? The Coachman's or somewhere? Where would you go?
Ah, no, we're down the country now.
I know, but it's not too far from the bloody Coachman's. It's only half an hour.
That'd be an hour and a half from my house.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry, okay.
Yeah, guys.
Coachman's is great. I go to the Coachman's, like $14.99 for like a nice big roast, and it was as much as you want.
No, we're in the Midlands, so we go to a pub called Scanlan's, beautiful pub in Kinnegad. The Kinnegad used to be a major hub for all the buses before the motorways went in, you know that way?
Yeah.
So we'd head out there, somewhere out there. That's a lovely pub. I'd show the girl something, but give it to the girl that served me, that's it. I wouldn't be
in a buffet, you tend. I don't know if I've ever tipped in the Coachman's, because nobody ever comes near me usually. You just go over and get your food on the tray and you bring it down, sit down and eat it, and you're not there. You're usually not there. What?
No, I love it. They make a fuss of us when we go in, especially when I go in with the kids. The girls will come over to make a fuss of the kids, and just little things like that. And I know they're doing it for a bit of extra money, and guess what? They're going to get it. They've entertained my babies. I'm able to sit down and have a dinner.
So how much would you give them? How much would you give?
It depends on what the bill is. I'd round it up then to the nearest tenner, and I'd probably throw a tenner on top of it.
But it is a buffet. You are going over, and it's self-service. You're going over with your own tray.
No, not with us. No, not where we go. We sit down and we get the menu out.
Okay.
It's not a car. It's not a carvery like that. You can get a carvery dinner, but it's all done backstage. That's like why it's brought out.
Backstage. Okay, but generally speaking, when you go to a restaurant, would you always leave a tip if the service is good?
No, but I don't restaurant. No,
I know. You must have gone to other restaurants at some point in your life.
No.
Okay, would you tip a taxi driver?
I'd go to the Hard Rock. Say if I went to the Hard Rock, I'd give it to the person who served me. That's me. I'm not into.
I find those kind of places, the likes of the Hard Rocks, they're just glorified takeaways.
No. Yeah. What would Ryan do with our life if I start bringing out the restaurants?
Yeah. Would you tip a taxi driver?
No. Would you even get into a taxi? Oh, I don't like taxi drivers.
Jeez. Would you tip the Chinese takeaway guy? Or
No,
girl?
why? No, why would we get takeaways? What's Lorraine going to do for a living if I start getting takeaways? And
You live a
and at
very
the
boring
restaurant? She'd be out of
existence,
work.
Jason. You don't go to restaurants. You don't use taxis.
No,
You don't get
in my truck every night in the
takeaways.
week. I'm out in my truck every night in the week. Why would I waste money on other people when I can do it all myself? I mean, if I want to go out, I'll get a bus.
And do you think Irish people in general are we greedy? Are we mean? Or are we good?
No.
Are we good?
No, we're not.
We're generous.
No, we are one of the most generous in the world, and for charity. Maybe not when we win like feckers, but if you look around the world and if you go to a lot of the Irish people are known for our charity giving. We give beyond more than anybody, and I think we've been coming.
Okay, well, let me just go to somebody who's not quite as charitable as you. Jessica, hi. How are you? Stay there, Jason.
Hi, Niall.
How you doing? You don't leave tips. Never.
Doesn't matter if it's a restaurant, a pub, me barber, the taximan. I don't tip.
Right.
I know I'm going to sound like a stingy bitch saying that.
You do sound like a
at the end
stingy
of
bitch.
No, but like it's their job. Why am I going to give extra money for someone for doing their job? I don't get extra money on top for my job. So why should I give anyone extra money for doing their job?
Yeah, but the kind of
They're
restaurant.
providing you with a personal. They're providing you with a personal service. You know, you go
Not
to a
really.
restaurant, you're
It's
sitting
the
down.
job.
Well, yeah. So if you go to a restaurant, somebody's bringing you your dinner. Somebody's
They're
taking away
all
your.
beyond coming up here. Is everything okay? Is everything all right? It's
Yeah,
fake.
that's called being
It's
nice.
just that they
It's
can
called
get a
being
few
nice. It's called being nice. You should try it
It's all
sometime.
fake. It's all staged so that they can get a few bob out of your pocket.
Oh,
and no
Jesus.
thanks. I'm paying for me meal.
You
and
sound
you're
like
not
a
getting me
miserable shite, you know that? You really do. I mean, you
Well, just 'cause I
wouldn't
like to
tip
keep money in my
you
own
wouldn't
pocket.
tip somebody. You wouldn't tip somebody walking in the pub. They're normally kids, and anyway, usually between 16 and say 18, 19. You wouldn't like you went down. You're one of them, aren't you? You snap your fingers. You probably snap your fingers and expect them to come jumping to you. No, yeah, you see.
No, look, I'm not,
No, I
no,
would
I'm
if
not
I went to a
real
pub.
now. I
Niall.
just don't believe in tipping.
Okay,
That
wait,
is rude.
see, you have to take into consideration,
It's
Jessica.
American.
No, well, hang on. I know it's American, yeah. But you have to take into consideration, we do accept that people who work in hospitality, in restaurants in particular, are usually on minimum wage. And the reason they're on minimum wage is because there's a kind of, an overarching agreement that when you take those jobs, you get a low wage, but you make it up with a few tips. That's the kind of deal, isn't it? That's why people, because it is hard. It's hard work, Jessica. It is hard work.
Yeah, but be lucky that you're getting a wage. There's countries out there that don't have a good minimum wage like ours. Our minimum wage is fairly high compared to other places. Look at America. No, it's no wonder they have to fish for tips.
But the
because
cost
they're
of
getting,
living here is higher.
$4 or
But
$5 an hour.
Jessica, you must remember the cost of living here is twice what it is in Europe. It really is. I mean, we pay twice for
Okay, but
everything
I
here.
shouldn't
We pay
have
the
to give an
highest
extra
on everything.
tenner
No, you
just
shouldn't
for
have
giving
to.
me
You shouldn't.
free.
You don't have to, but it's called a
So why am I-
decent thing to do because you're going out for a
You know what
night,
else?
which means you're in a good.
thing to do, Jason? Do you know what else
What?
is a decent thing to do? Just give me dinner and fuck off. Stop trying to get more money out of me.
Oh my God!
And when you order a takeaway to the door, right? The Chinese lad, delivery or whatever it is to the door, right? And a girl, I'm assuming you're not like Jason, you do order the odd takeaway every now and again, do you? Or pizza?
Well, that's why the country's obese, Niall.
I know.
That's why the country's
Jessica,
obese.
do you order takeaways?
At the weekend, yeah, like
Okay.
a spice bag at the
Okay,
weekend.
so he comes to the door and he says, that'll be €14.50 and you have €15. Would you wait for the 50-cent change?
Nope.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't pay by cash. I use the app, and then I take my film, and I get right by, and I close the door.
Okay, so you've never had to pay cash, like.
I
And
tell
some
you,
of them,
Niall,
some of
if I
them.
was that delivery man, I'd make sure that food
even
came
my
freezing
cousin-
every single time. Every time I'd make sure she was the last one on the list. Honestly, I'd drop out, I'd kick her. Remember Ace Ventura? No, do you remember Ace Ventura? And he had the package.
Yeah.
I remember he was dancing on it, kicked it. That's what I do. If I had a customer like that, when I used to do home delivery style, do you know who the worst people were for tipping? The worst, and they would stand there. I had a woman one day write me a check for €12 instead of giving me €20. I was a
She wrote you a check.
She wrote me a check for
For a
12 because I
takeaway.
had no change. No, we were doing home deliveries. It was 400 on that set, right? And there was a certain charge. If you went to this depot centre, you bought your gear, there was a €12 home delivery charge, yeah. But sure, she didn't have the €12. She had 20. I said, "Geez, I don't carry cash on me, love. I'm just bringing it from there." She went in and wrote me a check instead of giving me the 20s. Wouldn't let me come back with the money, like with the change for her. But you go to Crumlin, Ballyfermot, Clondalkin, somewhere like that, they feel embarrassed if they can't give you more than 10-15 euro tip when you're dragging in.
I have to be honest with you. I find it's the people who have less will give you more, Jessica. You know what I mean? I can't believe, Jessica, you wouldn't even give the Chinese takeaway delivery guy a few quid.
I don't.
150 even or something. I don't know.
I've been going to my barber for about 5 years now when he cuts me hair. I don't. I shouldn't have to tip you for doing your job. It's your job. You do it. You get your wage, and stop fishing for more money out of me.
Okay, well, stay there. Let me go to Steve as well. Steve, hi. How are you?
Well, you know what? The postman just arrived. I think I'll run out and give him a bleeding tip. I mean,
Wow.
for one.
Well, you can. By the way, some people do give the postman a few quid at Christmas, like the bin man.
The bin man.
Whoa, hold on a second. I'm totally with Jessica on this one, which shocks Jessica.
Why does that not surprise me?
Steve, look out your window. Our pig's flying. That's how it's frozen over.
They are. I'll give them a tip as well. But listen, I agree with you totally. Why would you pay somebody twice? I never understood.
You're not paying somebody twice, Dave. In a restaurant, you're not paying somebody twice. You're paying the restaurant for your food and your dinner. You're paying that. You're giving that girl a tip for your service.
Jason, you know the way you love the sound of your own voice, and you can go on.
Bit like yourself, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, do us a favour. Do us a favour. Whist for a second, because what you just said was that you would pick the food, you'd make sure it was cold. So in other words, you would refuse to do the job you're already getting paid for
a miserable
and do a bad
like
job.
You, yeah. For a miserable shite like you, pair, I'd go out in me way. Yeah, for you, pair, I would.
Okay.
I'd go out in me way, I would. Just so you should never ring me again.
Do you tip the postman?
Why would I? I'm never there when the postman arrives. I'm in work.
Okay.
There by 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
What if he decides now to deliver your mail late or ripped up? How would you feel then?
Well, I'd get on to the post office. That's different. That is different. Exactly. He is employed to deliver the post. He's on a good wage. These girls and lads in the restaurants, girls and lads in the restaurants are on minimum wage. They're only there earning a bit of pocket money. My own kids have done it. Have you got kids? Have you in college or in school? No, you fucking don't. No, you don't. So you're having it. So you're going to tell a college kid to get a better job because they're supplementing their welfare or they're supplementing their income and their college thing to get a better job.
Are you over-caffeinated today? Are you over-caffeinated today? Is that what's going on?
Just listen to his miserable shite hilarious.
Hold on a second. If we decided to
get a better job, you're going to tell a college child to get a better job.
Whilst I am trying to do my best to be nice about this.
Hang on. One at a time. Sorry, Jessica, let you speak in a second. Hang on. Steve, go ahead. Finish what you were saying to Jason.
Okay. So I'm trying to be nice about this, Jason. So do us all a favour and give your mouth a rest. It's not a case of being miserable. You can't tip everybody you come into, that you have interactions with. The girl in the shop who gives you your packet of cigarettes, you know, I'm sure she's on shitty money just as much as a waiter is. And I would also like to point out, Niall, that I've come on your show before. I was a delivery driver for years. And I was on excellent money.
Yeah, but I'm sure you were delighted with the tips you got.
No, I wouldn't say I was delighted. Sure,
well, it made up a fair few quid, didn't it?
Yeah, look, I got a few tips out of them, absolutely, but I never expected a bloody tip.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't expect people to pay twice for a service already. I mean,
mind you, if I remember rightly, one night you were on the air while you were doing your deliveries, and you told me you were eating the chicken balls out of people's bags.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was indeed. They're not going to miss a chicken ball. It's as simple as that.
I would. There's 8 chicken balls. I would miss one. Sorry. Hang on, Jessica. Go ahead. Sorry, Jessica.
Let me ask Jason. No, let me ask Jason a question. If you were in a restaurant and some waiter was serving you and your family, and he was a prick, he was just an arsehole, and you didn't like him at all, would you tip him?
No.
So you wouldn't tip him because of bad service.
There you go. You answered it yourself. Because he's an arsehole, he's bad service.
Exactly. So what you said earlier, Jason, what you said earlier was that you would kick her food around if she didn't tip you.
Steve, no, Jason made the point. And he's been honest. If she was an asshole, he wouldn't give her a tip. But if they're being good to you, and Jason mentioned the girl that looks after his kids and entertains them while he's eating, he gives her a tip. No. Sorry, Jessica, you want to say something there? Go ahead.
when it comes to the students doing their jobs, yeah, they're on minimum wage, they're getting crap money. Sure, I'm in a crap job, I'm getting crap money, but sure, look, it is what it is. But then college students, I can guarantee you, most of them are probably getting the Susie grant. And you can get a good bit of money off that Susie grant.
And what's wrong with that?
If they're on Susie grant every week, they don't need any more tips, they don't need any more money. As Steve said, they're charging you twice.
What, Jessica, what do you do for a living? You don't have to tell me where you work, but what do you do?
I work with phones.
You work with phones. You work with phones.
I fix phones. I fix them up. I repair them. It's that kind of job.
Okay, putting screen front things on them and all that kind of carry on. Right. Okay. So if you do a good job and someone collects their phone, they go, "That's wonderful. Oh, thanks very much. Thanks. That looks great." You know, would you expect them to give you a tip for doing your job?
No, because I'm just doing my job.
But if you went over and above and they handed you $5, you'd be delighted, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like if they gave it to me, I'd be like, oh, thanks.
Well, there you go. See how it made you feel. See how it made you feel. Made you feel good.
But the thing is, Jason, I don't go above and beyond and fish for it. Like, oh my God, is your phone okay? Do you want me to clean it? Do you want me to carry it? Do you want me to put it in your pocket for you?
See, that's the difference. When I was doing the home delivery to people, we were walking out with the thing, I'd go a bit and beyond. Where would you like me to put that? Do you want me to put that over there? If you hold it and I move that out, right. And guess what? You go out with a weight to give you a few quid. When I'm coming home at the end of Jessica, when I'm coming home at the end of the week with an extra 150, 200 quid in my pocket, it goes a long way in my house with my kids. So I will go that extra mile to make that extra quid, to make that few quid.
Yeah, see, I mean, I'm going to tell you, lads, Jason's got a point. Like, I had broadband delivered there last year, new kind of fibre broadband, right? And they had put it on the road. So the guy came to put in the fibre broadband, Virgin or whatever it was, right? Or Sky, I can't even remember. Anyway, he says, what room do you want it in? I said, yeah, that one there. And he goes, yeah, no, I'd have to put it into the attic for that. No, I can only put it in that room there. And I says, why? And he says, I'm on another call. It'd take me 20 minutes to run a cable. And I'm going, but like, that's their job.
Then why did he ask?
That's your job. Yeah, I know. He put it in the nearest room to the road, right? So I ended up then having to get a friend of mine to come out to run a cable from it up into the attic, across and into the room where we actually wanted it, right?
Yeah, because now
I tell you, if he had done it, if he actually had used a bit of extra cable and done it for me, I'd have thrown him 20 quid for himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
that's wonderful, Niall.
Yeah,
Niall, do me a favour. I just still can't get over Jason. He's coming across as such a righteous prick today. So, Jason, what you're saying about... You're coming across as a righteous prick. What you're saying is you would hold your customer to ransom. You would say, I want a tip from you, or next time I'm going to do a shit job. That's what you said. Niall, did he say that? Niall, did he say that?
You did say that, Jason. You said you'd kick it around the place.
People like you. If I came across people like you and Jessica, who are that fucking miserable.
How would you know I'm miserable? When just not tipping.
Tip.
Jason.
Thank God there's not many like
Jason.
Hang on, the three of you. Let me just bring in Angela here. Just should really be good crack now. Angela, would you give a tip, Angela?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's your choice if you want to fork out more money that you don't need.
Jessica, you were on another show yesterday complaining about being on minimum wage and not getting enough money and not getting all of this crap. And all you were doing, and actually, if I remember, it was Lorraine was calling you a moany weeny bitch because
she got called that today again. By the way, she's used to it.
No, hang on, Angela. Hang on.
Yeah,
that's because I said, and I will stand by. I will die on this hill. I'm sorry if I feel like I should be able to live in Dublin. That is what I said. People were twisting my words.
Thing was, I'm on minimum wage. How am I going to afford anything? I'm on minimum wage. So I can tell you now that, Jessica, if you were a bit nicer, handing over the phones or doing whatever you want, people will give you an extra bit of a tip.
Would that say to me next customer, do you want me to put that in your pocket for your skirt just so I can get an extra fiver? It's not fucking worth it.
If you were nicer, people would give you a tip. Then you wouldn't come on whinging about being on minimum wage. And as for you, Steve, right? If you didn't want to, and you didn't deserve the tip and you got that, why'd you take it when you were your delivery driver? I'll tell you why you took it, because it's all money. And the thing is, you were getting all of that into the hands. So what you have to realise, am I right with that? You were getting it in.
Well, he's hardly declared it for tax, was he?
Yeah.
Exactly. So all of these people that you were tipping, right, that we are tipping, sorry, you miserable fuckers aren't tipping, excuse my language, right? Because
God forbid we don't want to spend money twice, as Steve said.
They're all paying they're all paying everything, right? Whereas you were getting it into the hand, right? So I am exactly with Jay here on this. I'm telling you now. If
are you on the caffeine as well today? Niall, why is everybody so screamy? What's going on?
Steve, as you said, Jay had his talk, you had yours, Jess had hers, so all of you shut up for a minute, right?
Take a bleeding breath.
No, I don't need to take a breath. I think
you do. You might need to chill down a bit there.
Talk like this. The other thing is, if I go into a restaurant and a young one or a young fella gives me great service in giving my food and running around the place, getting what I want, then why not? Why not give them an extra bit of a tip? And I will tell you, delivery drivers, if I order something online, I will make sure I have at least €4 sitting there on top of what they've
€4.
You're blue.
No, hang on a second here, right? So if you're getting a takeaway and it comes to say 15 quid, you're going to give them €4?
No, but coins. Do you know what I mean? I'll hand them 20. Keep the change.
For a €15 meal?
Yeah.
33%.
Yeah, why not?
Jeez, you're good.
Your Blue Peter badges. Yeah, your Blue Peter badges in the post there, Angela.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Angela. If the takeaway coming to the door is $13.50 and I hand 15, I'd say keep the change, right? Or if it's 14, I'd say keep the euro. But I'm not going off and getting €4, and I've just paid $2.50 for the delivery as well.
I always do, Niall. I always do. If it's $13.50, I'll give them at least 16 or $16.50. At least.
Congratulations for you. Well done.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. Hold on a second. Angela.
Angela, hang on. Go ahead, Steve.
Angela.
Okay, go on.
Screamy bleeding Joe.
Oh, here you go. No, my name's Angela. Thank you.
Come on, Steve.
Right.
Will you speak? Go on.
Thanks. Angela, I'm not judging you for giving a tip. I don't care whether you give a tip or not. That's your business. So you're coming on here calling us miserable for not tipping people. Yeah, you're calling us miserable fuckers for not tipping people. You don't tip the girl in the shop. Should I judge you? You don't tip everybody you come across. I'm not judging you. So do me a favour, calm down a little bit, stay off the coffee, maybe stop doing, less
I don't
drugs.
drink coffee or tea.
You're clearly wired up like Jason said. You just make a great couple.
Okay, so Angela, there is an argument, and I'm not defending Jessica and Steve who are miserable shits, right? But there is an argument that, people are paid, like, do you tip the taxi driver?
Yeah.
Okay, do you tip
tip your hairdresser?
Yeah.
Do you tip the bus driver?
I go to a hairdresser, not a barber.
Have you ever actually done your finances?
You dig at me.
But you'd walk into a shop, say, to buy, I don't know, a pack of cigarettes or, a 6-pack of beer or whatever it is, or as Steve there says, some caffeine. You'd walk in and you wouldn't tip the person behind the counter, and they're working equally as hard on minimum wage. You wouldn't tip them.
No, they're not. Niall, are you telling me that somebody hold on, I'm talking here, right? Niall, are you going to tell me that a shopkeeper standing in a shop works as hard as a waiter or as a waitress?
It depends how busy the shop is. Yeah, they do.
No, but listen, hold on. You go into the shop, she turns around, she gets that's fine, right? You go into a restaurant, sorry, can you get me this? Okay, I know I'm being a pain in the arse, but can I have the egg mayonnaise without the mayonnaise? Can I have the fillet steak with no pepper sauce? Can I have a bit of gravy on that as well? Okay, that's fine. But can I have that on the side? Okay, that's grand. She comes back. Would you like a drink? Yeah. She comes back. And I think it's so nice that they come back and say, is everything okay there? Yes, it is, or no, it's not. Because
they're sponging off you.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Here's the thing. You're paying for a service. You're paying for a service.
Yeah, whoa. If they knew that they weren't going to tip, like Jason had said earlier, he would kick the food around.
Do it.
You'd get it. Exactly.
They wouldn't do it. Kick the food around. hold on a second, there's a reason he would do it, and that's because you're an absolute total tosser.
Oh,
so I probably do
hold
the
on,
exact same
hold on.
thing.
You would do the exact same thing, exactly. So, in other words, what I tried to say to Jason earlier, what I tried to say to Jason earlier, and I will say to you as well, that if somebody doesn't do their job to your standards, that you wouldn't. Sorry, no, I beg your pardon. So, what I'm trying to say is, if I didn't tip you, that you no, this is going wrong. Why am I fucking having a brain fart? What did I say? What did I say?
Yeah, the caffeine.
A couple of coffees.
Or the drugs or whatever it is. Yeah, go on. So what you're trying to do is you're saying that Angela. Oh, sorry, you've lost me.
Holding to ransom. That's what it was. Yes, I knew I was trying to remember.
She kicked the food around.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in other words, you would hold your customer to ransom. That if they didn't give you extra money, not the money you're already getting paid, if they didn't give you extra money, that you would give them a bad service. You're just an arsehole. So.
Well, no, I can tell you this because I did work in the hospitality industry in the evenings to get more money when I was on minimum wage. You know, because I didn't want to whinge about it. That I made sure that every customer was happy.
Yeah. So, Angela, if a person came in, and I'm assuming in restaurants you get regulars who come in on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
And say a couple come in and you went, remember them the last time? Okay, so listen to me, right? So a couple come in, say, with their kids, and they sit down and you go, oh, Jesus, they were here last week. They didn't even leave me a penny. Are you telling me you'd give them worse service because they didn't give you any money the last time?
No, I'd try and impress them better because obviously I did something wrong. Or unless it's Steve, then if I heard Steve's voice, then I'd make sure that he gets the worst
What if it
dinner
was Jessica? What if it was Jessica?
We gave you extra money.
Jessica's grand. Me and Jessica always come on here and have a bit of banter. That's fine. Of course, I give Jessica the best dinner in the planet.
I feel like I'm getting abused.
let me go to Lorraine.
My apologies with that.
Don't apologise to each other. It softens the whole show.
Yes, always clash heads.
Yes.
We always clash heads.
Go on, Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine.
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Good. I believe Jason doesn't bring you out too often. But anyway. So, Lorraine, would you leave a tip?
Yeah, I always do. I worked as a waitress for 5 or 6 years. I just think it's a horrible job to have. The abuse they get, the abuse you get of customers, the abuse you get of chefs. It's just, I do. If they give me a
kick it around was the word.
Kick it around, yeah.
No, I just think it's nice.
Go ahead, Lorraine.
I think it's nice to be nice. If you're getting nice service and they're being, as Angela said, they're going above and beyond.
They've already paid for the nice service, Lorraine. They've already paid for that nice service.
Yeah, but to be fair to Steve, Lorraine, you're not paying for a bad service. You don't go in somewhere and go, this is a really bad service place because they don't charge quite as much, so we'll pay for it.
Exactly.
You're paying more for the food than you are for this. Like, if a waitress goes above and beyond for you, you're really paying for the food unless there's a service charge.
It's an act.
You can try and get more money out of you.
Well, hold on, Jessica. I've said this before. For example, when I go away, as you know, Florida or America is what they call. The people use the term. They invented the word service, right? So when you go into a shop, even a 7-Eleven, for example, in places like Florida, there's this whole thing where they go, "You have a good day and have a blessed day, sir. Thank you very much." Okay, so they do all this kind of crap, even in a shop, right? And you know it's fake. You just know it's fake, or it's just a cultural thing, or they're just automatic. But it doesn't matter. It's nice.
It's nice.
It's actually nice.
It's nice to be nice.
Whereas you go into a shop over here, and Tracy's behind the counter chewing gum, doesn't even make eye contact with you, and throws your change on the counter. You know what I mean?
No, it's nice to be nice. If you're getting good service, that girl could be in college on shit money, looking to get her an extra cash. And if she's nice to you, I'll tip her or him. If it's a gentleman, I'll tip them.
Lorraine, would you tip the bricklayer or the guy who cuts your grass or the guy who cleans your windows? I mean, if you're going to go around tipping everybody, I would love to see Angela's finances because she said she tips everybody. I would love for her to do a ledger and see how much money she spends on tips. Because she could probably get a bleeding mortgage out of it by the sounds of it. It's just ridiculous.
Well, Lorraine, would you like to see more of a culture of tipping in this country, like America, for example? Because it's kind of creeping into Europe. It's kind of creeping in.
It's if you get good service, if you do, and you're genuine, you have a connection. Like if that girl or that gentleman who's serving you is nice to you, and they go out above and beyond for you. Yeah, I think it's nice to be nice. Like I do at Christmas, I'll give the milkman stuff. I'll give the bin man at Christmas. I do.
What about Vodafone?
How much do you give the bin man at Christmas?
I put 50 quid in an envelope.
50 quid? I remember working this out. It's not done as much now as it used to be. You remember when people just used to leave bags out, right? And people say, if you look after the bin man, he'll take all the bags, right? And everything, all the carry on, right? And I used to say to myself, if they got 50 quid, because that was the going rate then, even 50 quid, right? And if everybody in the estate gave them 50 quid, there'd be millionaires coming out of the place. They must make a fortune.
Niall, considering there's people like me and Jessica.
Or give the milkman, I'll give him a bottle of whiskey or something. It's nice to be nice. I just think it's nice to be nice instead of being too miserable.
You know what? You're absolutely right. It is nice to be nice. Be polite to people. But what I can't get my head around is these people are already being paid to be nice. They're not being paid to be assholes and give you bad service. So why name it twice when I want to pay them twice?
She's only giving them a bottle of whiskey.
I get that. What I'm saying is, if you're getting a service off a waitress or waitress in a pub or in a restaurant, and they go above and beyond, and they're there, and they're helping you out, and they're in it, like, what's wrong with giving them a tenner or €15?
Okay, well, hang on. Let me just bring Morris in. Morris, hi.
Niall, wait.
Yeah.
Niall, wait. I want to say one thing to her. I just want to say one thing. Lorraine, let's say you're with Vodafone and you have a problem and you're on the phone to some woman in Bangladesh and she's being really nice to you. Do you ask for our Revolut?
I was just going to say, how am I going to get money to Bangladesh?
Morris, hi. How are you?
I'll tell your mother the bin man wish her a happy Christmas.
Yeah, do you remember the bin man? 50 quid? I don't know if people still do that. 50 quid for the bin man.
Well, I tell you, I met a bin man the other day in Dublin. I was doing a bit of work and I had a conversation with him. And he told me, with all the bottles that are being dumped in his round on his bins, he's pulling £50 to £75 a day in Dublin because people are discarding their bottles in the bins. He's filling them in a bag. He goes off his shift. He goes into the Lidl and he gets 75 quid.
There's an entrepreneur.
He goes in and gets a load of beer and pizzas and he rings his wife on their way home. You're not cooking tonight.
But there's a good a good entrepreneur, isn't it? Yeah. I know.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, I know this is a thing now, by the way, in the city centre. There are crowds of gangs going around raiding all the bins for bottles, yeah.
Well, he's getting people think they're only dumping one in. He's pulling 5, 6, 7, 10 out of every bin.
So is he rooting in all the bins?
No, he's on his round. He goes around Dublin emptying the litter bins, the brush car bins.
Oh, them ones. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's on his round, so he's pulling them 50 to 70. But listen, Niall, I was a lounge boy in 1973. I'm a dinosaur, right? And I used to get tips off people when I was a kid at 12, 13, working as a lounge boy. And I kept it going, because when I got older and I seen kids doing work, you'd throw them a little few bob in appreciation and let them see they were worth it. But then as the industry came on, I seen restaurant owners getting meaner and giving their workers, come in for a month and we'll see how you are, and they'd feck them out and get somebody else in. So they were mean to them, and then they turned the kids mean. But I mean to say, I couldn't survive in America because I was over there and I seen the way people put their hand out. They'd only get you a cup of tea or a pint and they'd be looking for a $5 tip.
I know, yeah.
I'd work the whole night, 20 quid. If I got 20 quid a night tips.
But that's very commonplace in America. Even in a bar, they have the kind of saucer, and you buy a pint, and they'll slide the saucer over to you to put the change in. It's very. I know,
common, and then they feed you enough food over there to feed the animals in the zoo, and they look for big tips off you. And if you leave 20 quid on the table, say, "Sorry, did you forget to leave more?" But
yeah, no, I wouldn't like to see that kind of culture where you're under pressure to do it. But you would, if you're in a restaurant and you got good service, Morris, would you leave a tip?
100%, and I'd put it into the person's hand. I'd make sure.
Yeah, well, no, I would always do that too. Yeah.
I'd say, look, there's a few bob under the saucer there for you. All right.
Yeah. Steve, nice people, nice service, nice people,
no,
you get a tip.
I'll give them, I'll give them a tip. Don't eat yellow snow.
But I just watched the film the other day there, Monsters, Inc. I got a great laugh out of it. But Niall, if you get good service and people are pleasant to you, but then again, I've come across waiters and waitresses that are scowly. Like she might have been on a period, or he was having a bad day.
Jesus Christ.
He needed to go outside. He needed to she was on the rag.
Stop.
She'd take it out on you, you know.
What?
I'd give her some bath salts or something. Say, go home and have a shower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't be taking your bad humours out on me, you know.
Is everybody on caffeine today? What the hell?
Yeah.
The young fella coming along then, and he's going mad to get outside to have a joint so he can feel normal. You don't need those people in the street. But I think the worst thing that can happen, Paul Trayvard is the exemption to the rule. That guy, you know, Paul, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen really mean restaurant owners being shite to their staff. And the chefs don't stay with them. And they're only in it for the money. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything. They'll throw you up a tray of slop and they'll charge you the top price. That's the businesses that are going out of business because they don't give a shit.
Okay, but if you did get bad service, you don't feel obliged to leave a tip.
I'd tell them I wouldn't be paying for the slop they serve me, and if they want to call the police, they can. I wouldn't pay for it.
I say, well, here's the thing. If the food is bad, it's not the waiter's fault.
Oh, no, get the owner out and say, what are you serving this slop up for?
Yeah. And would you still give the waiter a tip for serving the slop to you?
If the waiter was nice to me, I'd say, I'm not blaming you, but I mean to say, look, at the end of the day, there's a fiver for yourself. Don't let the manager see you getting it. If he's good, well, I mean to say...
So you get a shit meal in a restaurant and you still give the waiter a fiver?
If he's nice to me, yeah. If he's as bad as the pool, I'll give him a kick up the whole week's wages.
Would you give a taxi driver a tip?
I always do. I came home on Sunday night with my son. We were 5 minutes from my house and I gave him a tenner.
Right. And how much was the bill? How much was the bill?
$4.50.
And you gave him a tenner?
Yeah. Because he's not walking.
See, Steve, some people are just generous.
I know here. Whoa. I understand people wanting to be generous, but I'm generous to charity. I give to charity all the time. I give back in other ways. As I said from the very start of this show, I don't understand why you need to pay somebody twice for a job. Yes, you can tell me it's a nice thing to do, but if you want to apply that, you may as well apply that to Vodafone or the ESB, the guy up the pole, or your man cleaning out your sewers. You're going to end up paying everybody. Why subjectively pay these people other low wages? Half the bleeding country's on low wages.
Lorraine, do you tip your hairdresser?
I do.
What about the dog groomer? What about the dog groomer?
The dog groomer.
I would tip.
What's the dog's name again? Foo or something?
Lulu.
Foo. And why would you tip them when you're all... I mean, let's be clear, hairdressers are not cheap.
No, they're not, but you're there for like, when my hair is long and stuff, I could be in the hairdresser for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, but you're paying 120 quid or 130 quid for your colour or whatever it is you pay.
Excuse me? You're paying what?
About 140 quid.
What, how often? Whoa, hold on. How often does this happen?
Jay's listening, so every year.
Yeah, you're a liar, Lorraine. It's not every year, and you know damn well it's not every year. Jay, turn off the radio for a second. Okay, Lorraine, how often do you pay? How often do you get your hair done?
You get it done every couple of months.
So every 2 months. So every 2 months you're paying 120 euros.
I didn't say two. I said every couple.
You said a couple of months.
Couple is two.
No, I would say every
140 quid every 2 months.
Nearly 800 quid a year for your hair.
To wash it and clean it and
colour it.
And colour it. Would you not do it yourself?
No.
Right,
no.
Okay. And then after she's robbed you and taken the 140, I'm assuming it's a she, by the way, 140 quid off you just to put a bit of colour in it, right? You give her a tip.
I just give her the 150 quid and just tell her to keep the 10.
150? So you're giving her 40 quid for a bleeding tip? Jesus Christ, there's gamblers spend less money than you.
140 to get my hair done.
And you're giving... You said 120 a minute ago. It's gone up now.
No, I said 140.
She said 140.
Sorry,
and she gives her 150.
Niall, do the maths. I'm terrible at maths. 150, six times a year. What's that?
It's 306. No. Yeah, it is 900. You're right, yeah.
900, €1,000 nearly a year on your hair.
How much do you spend in your car a year?
Oh, a car needs maintenance. Your hair doesn't need that. Are you bleeding crazy? The car will stop. It won't stop if your hair falls out.
Okay, stay there. Let me go to Eddie. Eddie, hi. How are you?
How's it going, Niall?
Good, Eddie. Sorry for keeping you there. Lorraine gets her hair done every couple of months and shows the hairdresser, even though she's just paid her 140 quid, a tenner tip.
I'll back himself up. I'm sorry, I don't remember. She did say 120 the first time. The same way she said it was only once a year.
I was the one who said 120. She said 140.
I said 140.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, listen. There was just one first point I wanted to make. Talking about America. In America, you get about $2 or $3 an hour. It's not the same as over here.
It's not $2 or $3. It's $6. About $6.50, I think, is the minimum wage.
Well, so you're getting $13.50 over here minimum wage. So there's still is a big difference now.
Yeah,
and there is.
Yeah, there is.
And hang on. Let me finish. And then this guy was holding people to blackmail about baiting their food up and down the road. And there was a woman on there as well saying, "Oh, do you have to get it?" Then what they were forgetting is you don't tell someone whether they're happy with your service or not. You don't get to decide that. And I think you would agree with that. Someone comes to your door. They don't tell you that, I've just given you good service and I decide.
No, that's up to you to decide. Yeah.
Yes. So hang on. But that's what they were saying. Oh, if they didn't tip me, they didn't want to turn around and really, they just automatically assumed that they deserved it.
Yeah.
And then they didn't get it. They're going to blackmail their customer. And they were telling everyone else they were arseholes. They're the arseholes. Right. Moving on from that as well. I work self-employed. I have no problem saying it. I get 150 a day. Right, I'm a painter. To pay me van out of that, insurance, holidays, bank holidays, everything out of that, right? And you know that I'm self-employed, $150. I get people trying to cut me. The same people I would probably tip in a restaurant or whatever I do when I feel it's deserved. So it's not fair across the board. So this thing going, oh, someone is getting that, deserves it. It's all warped, and they really annoy me here. People going on, oh, you just deserve it just because you're providing the service. No. If you're entitled to it, you get it because the person decides that they feel you're worthy of it. It's that simple, and it should never be anything more.
There you go, Lorraine. Puts you in your place.
Just because you work in an industry, don't mean you deserve it.
See, Lorraine, well, hang on. Let me go back to Lorraine. Now, whether she does a good or bad job on your hair, Lorraine, you know or you feel obliged to throw her a tenner, don't you?
Yeah.
That's not right.
But she never does a bad service on my hair, and that's the reason I go to her. I've been going
she shouldn't. Well, she shouldn't. You're paying 140 quid.
She's not meant to. That's the whole point. You don't set up a business. No, hang on, let me speak. You got your turn. You don't set up a business to provide a bad service. That's not how business works. So, I'm one of those people. Hang on, listen. You tip someone for doing something extraordinary out of their standard duties. That's usually why you would tip, because you're rewarding that person for going above and beyond.
Yeah, Lorraine, sorry, respond to that. Go on. Stick to hair if you want.
That's your opinion. That's you. That's how you...
No, hang on, Eddie. Let her answer.
Let me speak, Eddie. Let me speak. Right. I let you speak. Let me speak. That's how you feel. You feel that the people that work in them industries don't deserve the tips. That's what they do. My opinion of it is, I think if I'm in a restaurant and that girl goes above and beyond for me, I will tip her. If my hairdresser, let me finish. If I want to give my hairdresser an extra tenner, I will give her the extra tenner. It's no skin off your nose. I'm not asking you to do it.
Hang on, you were coming in telling everyone they're mean, so you just put yourself out as you came on there saying that you were all mean and that you should and the people should. You were telling people how to think as well. So you're just as hypocritical.
Jason and Jessica said it. I never.
No, you told them they were mean, and you said people are mean, and they should. You did. You told people how to think.
I think it was Jess. I think they were referring to Jessica. Yeah, that was Jason and Angela were calling people mean.
I didn't.
Oh, that's not Angela.
Yeah, no, that's Lorraine. Yeah, she's.
Oh, sorry.
Different.
My apologies, if Lorraine. I thought you were Angela.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. My apologies.
Yeah, but is it mean not to leave a tip if you get a good service?
It's up to you. I'm not going to stand here and call you a miserable shite, and I'm not going to say anything about you. If you don't feel like you want to tip, don't tip. I like to tip. I like to be nice. It's nice to be nice.
Okay, hang on. Stay there. Let me just go to Dave as well. Dave, hi.
What's the crack?
How you doing, Dave? Dave, do you leave tips?
Huh?
Do you leave
Depends. I do the usual. Do you know, like delivery driver, I give them an extra 2 or 3 quid, or if I'm in a taxi, so I don't want the taxi driver driving off going, he's look at this miserable bastard. I usually give him an extra 2 or 3 euros as well.
What? Why? Because you just feel obliged in case he calls you names?
No, because you know what? No, that was just a joke. No, do you know what? Because it's like Lorraine saying, it's nice to be nice. You know what I mean? Like, I've often done a job for somebody and gone above and beyond and gotten fucking diddly squat and thought, Jesus, I feel kind of shit now. So if I'm in the position to throw an extra few quid somebody else's way, I might brighten up the day a small bit. Why not? You know? It's
and what do you say to Jessica and Steve, who were on there earlier on, who said they'd never tip because that's your job. You're supposed to give them a good service.
Yeah, well, fine. That's fair enough. They can say that. I mean, you are coming across as miserable fucking shite, to be honest.
Pair of them.
You know, like...
I think she's back there, Jessica.
I'd say, well, come here. Like, you can say it all right, but like the language that they were using and the way they were saying it with the kind of nose in the air. Well, that's your job.
I don't think, in fairness, Jessica's a snob by any stretch of the imagination. I see, Jessica, are you still there?
I am, yeah. No, my phone died on me. That's what happened.
Oh yeah, you're not a snob by any stretch of the imagination with your nose in the air, are you?
No, I'd like to think I'm humble. I just feel it's just part of your job just to do a good job. No employee is going to willingly do a bad job.
Yeah, but
otherwise you would never get a job.
You get some miserable shite that do be in restaurants.
Yeah, but like if you're in the position to throw someone an extra €2, €3, €4, €5, not even a tenner. Nobody's saying like 30 or 40 or 50 quid, but just an extra 2 or 3 quid to say, hey, I saw you did a good job there. Thanks very much. Like, what's the harm?
But
you wouldn't even like even an extra €2.
Service. They shouldn't have to go above and beyond.
And you know what? And it's people like you that make people who work in the service industry hate their jobs. Do you know that? Because you walk in with this like...
Dave, I don't go to places and say,
no, but you do. I know well by you because I used to see people like you when I used to work in shops and stuff. You walk in with this like air, with this air about you. Like I expect to be treated in such a certain way. And your job to serve me like I'm royalty. Like it's 2 or 3 quid. You would not believe how much of a difference that would make to someone's day.
None of you are listening to me. I don't go into a restaurant thinking that I'm the queen of Sheba. I go in, I sit down, I order my meal, I pay for the meal, I leave. I don't expect them to come up to me every 5 minutes being like, oh, is everything still like, is everything okay, is everything okay? Just give me my plate and bugger off.
I don't know, your attitude.
Do you not like when people go over to you and ask you okay and is everything okay and do you need that? Do you not like that experience in a restaurant?
No, I just want to sit down and eat my food. I don't want to be kept pestered just so they can get a few bob.
Okay.
But do you not think that they might actually... But do you not think that they might actually genuinely care that you're having a good time and that they are providing a good service and, which is making you have a good time? Do you not think that? Are you really so cynical that you think the only reason people...
No, because at the end of the day, like I said, they're all like that, and it's all like an act just so they can fish a few tips out of you. It's not genuine.
They're all like that. So there's no such thing as nice people anywhere at all. There's no such thing as a waiter or a waitress or a
who goes over and above the line of duty.
Yes, they go above and beyond just to make sure that you have a good time and you come back. You're very cynical.
I did it myself, and then I thought, you know what, this isn't worth it anymore.
Listen, I have to wrap it up. Dave, thank you very much indeed. Jessica and Lorraine. Loads of messages, by the way, coming in. Somebody says, Neve says on WhatsApp, I work in hospitality and the Irish are great tippers. I worked the weekend just gone at a very important event as a manager. The biggest problem we have is the staff are crap. A lot of the hospitality staff would be foreign, which is fine, as some are very good workers. Unfortunately, the majority don't want to do the work, give an experience or go above and beyond their customers. We also have a problem with the staff not being able to speak good enough English. I got at least 3 complaints over the staff this weekend alone. On the other hand, I made €180 in tips in a 4-hour shift. If you put the work in, you get the rewards. Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Pierre says, price is price. Should be no service charge or keep it hidden at least. Tips are for waiters. Many places they put it in a pot and the owner takes it all. Well, that's actually, that was the way it used to be. That, since last year, I think about it last year, the year before, that's actually illegal now. It's illegal for restaurants now to do this whole thing where they keep the tip, the restaurants. You must give the staff the tip. Anyway, Antonio says, I tip only when I'm happy with the service. Why should a service charge be paid and applied if the service isn't up to scratch? And Aaron says, hi Niall, I worked in pubs when I was younger. I know how much the tips can help, and I've always tipped until the last few years. I only tip now if they actually deserve it. The young staff working in these places just don't seem to care, and they're doing so. They don't deserve the tip. And he goes on and on and on. By the way, just from breaking news, by the way, coming in as well, just to mention, the EU Migration Pact has just cleared the final hurdle at the European Council, but it would appear Ireland has abstained to vote along with Denmark. Now that doesn't mean, by the way, it doesn't go through. It just means we've abstained in relation to it. Doesn't change what's happening currently in the Dáil at the moment. We will talk about that more during the week and we'll give you an update on that. Thank you to everybody who got involved in the show. Don't forget, by the way, please, if you can, remember, subscribe to our podcast. You can do that very simply by going to niallboylan.com. That's niallboylan.com. If you can subscribe to the podcast, I would really, really appreciate it because it helps us pay the bills that we have here. niallboylan.com. We have one or two voices. I think I have just got one here to play for you. Hang on, I'll just play this for you now. Do apologise.
Niall, I'll tip everybody no matter what, if it's bad service or good service, no matter what, because 90% of people in my taxi give me a tip because maybe I don't shut up, I don't know, and they need that. Cheers, pal.
There you go. See, Neil is a taxi driver, he gets a tip. Don't forget, please support us. niallboylan.com is the website. You can go there. And please support me. Don't forget, I'm running for election. Only 3 weeks. Well, just a little over 3 weeks to go now. Make sure you give me your number one vote, representing, of course, the people of Dublin and Ireland in the European Union. I want to be the real voice of Dublin and Ireland. I want to sort out the major issues. I am a listener, and I've been listening for 30 years, and I will continue to listen, and I want to represent you. So please give me your vote if you possibly can, and tell your friends to do it as well. And the voice of common sense. I don't take any of this woke nonsense. I'll be back again with you tomorrow at 12 o'clock the same time. Until then, have a great day.
The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Podcast. Listen live on Facebook, YouTube, and all the usual live stream services. To get in touch, just WhatsApp or text 085 100 2255. The Niall Boylan Podcast. They told me to shut up. Available for download from all your usual platforms.